Duran Duran, Rio, 9 tracks, 42 minutes, the second studio album from the English new wave synthpop band, released May 1982 by EMI Records and Capitol Records, produced by Colin Thurston, recorded at Air Studios in London. 4 singles are released in My Own Way, Hungry Like the Wolf, Save a Prayer, and Rio. Taking number 6 in the US, number 2 in the UK, number 3 here in Australia, while doing quite well globally. The album has gone on to be double platinum in the US and remain in the charts for that region for 129 weeks. It did. Wow. Brendan.
This is a synth pop rock album, but it's a pretty bloody good one. I don't hate Duran Duran, and this is probably their best album, to be honest. I've heard a bit of it over the journey. There's many examples to the contrary, but pop music was much better in the 80s, I think, than it's probably been in any other decade.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And
it had some substance at least.
Yeah, and this, I think, stands out in that, because there's undoubted talent in this band, and they're writing good songs, and it's good music. And I'm not suggesting if you're a metalhead, run out and get into this. Don't. You won't like it. But for what it is, it's a bloody good album. Yes, it's dripping in cheesy synth, but there's also great hooks, funky bass, solid lyrics. It's good songs, well written and well performed. Yeah. You know, if you're a little curious about checking it out, then by all means, get your Le Bon on. I kind of dig it. I think it's a good album. I give it 7 out of 10. The highlights were Hungry Like a Wolf, Rio, New Religion, and My Own Way.
Who would have thought that a Slipknot review would be on the same page as Duran Duran? Good man.
Yeah, you tell it.
It's diversity at its finest.
Yeah.
We have substance, we do. I knew going into this that it would be a very difficult listen for me, and I was not surprised. I find stuff like this very boring. There is some mainstream 80s pop music that's okay, but this is not for me. It's not terrible, it's just not good. I gave it 5 out of 10, neutral. I had no standout.
That was short and good.
All right. This is essential pop at its finest, if you ask me. Some great playing. Jesus Christ. Some of the bass and stuff, like, and some of the drums, the 16th notes and the drums and stuff, like, they're actually quite good musicians. Yeah. You know, they're just playing a style of music that's very easily digestible. Yeah. You don't really have to think too much about it. It's just there. Yep. Punchy and pristine production. Like, Jesus, if it come out today, it's still... shit all over a lot of things.
Incredibly well.
Yeah. It's really, really good sounding album. Musically layered, very interesting. I won't get my Le Bon on because I find just the vocals I find is the most uninspiring and boring part.
They're limited.
Could do so much more with this music.
But he was so pretty.
Well, in that case, let me get those posters out and put them back on the wall. He was definitely the weak link, if you ask me, in the band. And as well as this band has done, could you imagine if they had someone who really had the pipes, how much bigger this band could have been, and they were pretty damn big.
Mercury fronting this band.
Just lacked emotion and stuff. It was very much like a narrator, just hitting a certain note.
What he used to do.
It's just, it wasn't enough, if you ask me. The simplicity of the vocals are pretty much repulsive, to be honest with you. Like, that's how crap it is, because, you know, it turns me off the band, to be honest, because musically, it's like Loverboy and a few other bands I do enjoy, you know. But that vocal is just rubbish, you know. My standards were Hungry Like the Wolf and Hold Back the Rain. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. Okay. I am a Duran Duran fan. I don't mind them. So for me, not only does this disc capture the 80s, I think it really defines what people think of when they think of 80s pop and synth pop and everything like that.
If anyone could write a fucking record that's endured like this, then happy days.
Yeah. I heard it when it first came out, because at the time when it came out, Duran Duran was just everywhere. And it was also the time that I was getting to a whole heap of different kind of music and trying to suss out what I did like, what I didn't like. I really got into Duran Duran, and I've stuck with them over the duration. So there's many different elements of pop, rock and new wave on this, and it's all on show. More than anything, for me, Rio is just a fun listen. Here we are, like 30-something years later, and I still enjoy it. I see what you're saying about the goofy lyrics and the cheese factor and everything like that.
Yeah, it's not for an intellectual. And I'm not saying I'm a super smart guy, but Jesus, you know, some of it it's just like, whoa, you know.
It's not an intellectual. Like I think they camp it up and play it over the top as well. I mean, the biggest candidate is their biggest song, that Hungry Like a Wolf. I love that song. It's an amazing song, amazing vocal line when backing vocals. But seriously, what the hell does I smell like I sound even fucking mean. Seriously, right?
Ask Dr. Seuss.
But they play it up. But it's full of for mine well crafted, well produced songs that and they're actually quite long. Come to think of it, hadn't heard this for quite a while. And re-listening to it, it is actually quite a long album. I mean, most songs on this are over the 4 to 5 minute mark.
Yeah.
So it is actually a long listen for a pop album of the time, which wasn't a done thing at the time. Example, I mean, The Chauffeur, that's probably my highlight on this album, and that's over 5 minutes, but it sounds a lot shorter than that. If you're talking about overall highlights, though, I mean, that title track, Rio, I love that. It's a infectious song, wonderful melody. Sorry, Dave, I know Dave's going to kill me after this. Look, there's a reason that Rio's made plenty of top 10s of the 80s, and that's because it's kind of stood the test of time. Here we are 35 years later on a hard rock metal show talking about it.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, how many bands of that genre have been able to come back and relaunch their careers? I can't think of really many at all. You know, this was one band that could.
No.
And have.
The thing is, they kind of never really went away, though. I mean, they've had a few lineup changes and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thankful.
They came back for Dave, apparently.
Yeah, came back for Dave. But like I say, here we are on a hard rock metal show talking about it 30-something years later.
Credit where due.
Yeah, but there is, and I sent the link to you guys yesterday, there is that hard rock metal link with Andy Taylor, the guitarist in this band. If you want to check out some serious shred melodic hard rock in AOR, check out him, because he left after he left this album. After he left this band in 1987, he released this album called Thunder. If you're into that kind of melodic hard rock stuff, definitely get onto that.
That's cool.
Standouts: Rio, Hungry Like the Wolf, The Chauffeur, and New Religion. I didn't mind. I gave it 8 shoulder pads out of 10. And that's only because I told you I was a fanboy.
With or without wax?
I don't know, with or without a bit of vanilla sparkle. 8 out of 10 because I reckon 7 in a Ragged Tiger from 83 and the debut 81 were better.
Okay.
Brazilian.
Actually, Rio is
in Brazil.
Just get your sack back and crack.
Okay, let's try and bring this one home. This is the first for us. Never even gone anywhere near this band before in all the years of doing the show. This is synthpop for sure. But there's some nice use of guitar in this one, I thought. It's undeniably 80s, lots of different instruments and sounds from that era in this one. Very tight band, very well performed. The weak link has been covered off in the vocal range. I think the music is so much more dynamic than the vocals sort of lived up to in that regard. It's meant for radio with a focus on rhythm and melody over everything else. But the energy comes through and it's actually quite infectious for the most part when you just sit there and listen to it. I love the rhythm section in this band. I reckon they're really good.
Fantastic.
That along with things like the saxophone, the bright synth, that all works together. And the guitar isn't really a riff focus thing, but it's just the dusting over the top of the whole thing. And that works really well for this. Good use of space. There's some different and interesting changes within the songs. They go into the minor areas, which add a bit of darkness here and there to it.
You heard that right, Dave?
What?
The minor key changes, yes, Dave, clearly.
I was zoned out.
I hadn't noticed.
It's just like half of it isn't fucking over yet.
No, not yet. The lyrics has been touched on. They can be a little bit obtuse at points for mine. I'm not sure how many sort of sing-along hooks there are in there per se. There are some, but then when you get to the rest, the balance of the songs is like, I don't know, like you mentioned the lyric, that doesn't fucking make any sense at all.
Yeah.
I smell like a sound.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Sound like a smell.
Sound like a smell.
Those are some good painkillers you're taking. Sparkling production on this, I thought there was really warm at the bottom end as well. I think it still sounds good. There's a little bit of a timestamp about the 80s to it, but it still sounds really good today. But the layering was fantastic. It can get quite busy, but they've got the whole thing about making the 3D sort of mix really punch out the speeds. They've done that really
very well mixed.
It's boppy, it's upbeat, it's certainly up-tempo and energy and all that sort of stuff. It's the whole pop thing going for it. But when they bring it down in an attempt to add some dynamics, I tend to find it hit the flat spots where it's easy for me to tune out. So when they try and bring things down to give them sort of more balance to the album, that's when I started tuning out in that regard. But I like the talent and the craft on this. I thought that was really well done. Does get a bit too arty at times, I think, for the sake of it. They do things just because they can versus it's serving. But they're wearing a lot of hats, and like a great many bands at the time were, they just try and do everything at the same time. But I feel like it's a little bit self-absorbed, and that sort of pulls me away from it. This isn't a go-to album for me by any stretch, but it's hard not to admire and respect the talent and the craft on display for this one. they're talented musicians doing a very good job what they do. If you've never checked this out, I think it's worth a listen for sure. It's not for rockers and metalheads and all that stuff traditionally speaking, but if you're open-minded to the 80s pop stuff, then fucking, it's worth a listen.
Yeah.
I don't think it holds up well on repeat listens, but it is one you can pull out from time to time and just give it a spin now and then. So a lot of respect for this one. But it does come down to taste, and it doesn't quite sit there for me. I go to 6.5 out of 10. My Own Way, Hungry Like the Wolf, and Save a Press. I think I've gone again on different standouts. So
Almost.
Almost. All right. Anyway, check it out for yourselves if you dare, and let us know what you think.
I thought that might get universally shit canned, actually. I'm surprised by that.
I mind that.
It's not a go-to, but it's worth a listen.
No, that's...
I like it.
Those bands could play back then. They were fucking good players.
If you like something a bit edgy, like, no, you don't go to Duran Duran. But, you know, it's...
For me, it was
someone puts on a party, I'm not going to throw them out. Yeah,
it's dumb fun. It's just dumb fun. No, Dave would go to sleep.
Well, party in my house, I'd probably throw them out, actually. You're right.
Get out of my fucking home.
Revenge.